Warning. The following is extremely addictive content. The original Savage Podcast may cause increased levels of success, happiness, and completely transform your life. You've been warned.
Welcome back, everybody. It is that time of the week again. Time for another episode of the Original Savage Podcast. You already know I got them guests on deck. We got them always. We got the fire episodes. So without further ado, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? We're going international this time. So why don't you take it away?
Yeah. Hello, my name is Oli Raymond, and I'm the maximum performance coach and expert for high achievers that want to become champion in their life. Because as a vice-champion of the world master in judo, real estate developer, and also successful business owner of 3 companies, I gained the skills and expertise in as well in health, mindset, sport, finance, and business to help people to leverage their life. Thank you for the honor to be here with you today.
Absolutely, man. I'm really looking forward to this because I know that perspective changes geographically as well as with people. So I love having that different perspective from just a different part of the world, because then you can see you never know who it's going to resonate with. So that's really what I wanted to see. So through your experiences of coaching but also performing yourself, which same kind of way, not that I'm over here winning world championships in judo or anything, I'll leave that to you. But the high level of athletics to the coaching side of things obviously gives you great insight. Same thing that I kind of have. But in your opinion and in your experiences, what's that one thing, that catalyst that really takes somebody's performance from where they're at to that next level, from that plateau to that peak, is what I like to say. What's that one thing in your opinion that really is that catalyst for change?
The first thing is already known, it's mindset. But the problem is not to know it, is how to apply it, is how to integrate it. Because most of the people know if you want to be at the top, if you want to be a high performer, then you have to work hard and to have a good mindset. And the way to do it could be, for example, to hire a good coach. For me, it was, for example, with my coachee Ayrton, as I see in him what he became through what I gave him through the coaching sessions. And the guy he became, at the beginning, he just didn't want to go in the cold water because we were doing a challenge. And I'm not only a coach that is helping people, but I'm the one that is in the cold lake and doing it with the other person. That is the change in the mindset of my coachee. And after that, he said, okay, I know it will be difficult, but it's exactly what I need to do. And when I heard this, I knew that he is a winner. You cannot be a loser when you listen to this, when you understand that in the process of beginning to become a champion, you begin to think, I need to have all things to become better. Then everything can happen. You are on the path to success, for sure.
I love that you said it that way, that you phrase it that way, because I say it all the time, right? The information is out there. There's unlimited information with the internet. There's all kinds of people out there talking about how to get better, success, performance, whatever it might be. But there's no, and this is what I talk about all the time, is individualization. Is you can't Google, how does Josh do something? You can Google how to do this or how to do that or how to, you can Google it all day and get lots of information, but the application of it, especially just for you, that individualized application of it is not there, right? You have to have somebody that can help you in that aspect of the application, like you said. I love that you phrase it.
Yeah, and let me tell you another story about me, a very interesting one. As I said at the beginning, I was second vice champion of the world of judo, master, not in senior level, but as master. And it's still a high level. And I had the opportunity to have a coach to help me, especially for the physical side. But I said to me, okay, I am good at it. I will do it anyway. It's okay. But now, you know what is the regret of a vice champion of the world? Is not to have hired a person to help me for this side. Because now, I don't know if have had this person at my side, what would have been the result? Perhaps the same, and perhaps not. And what is the difference between a vice champion and a champion? That is a word of difference, isn't it?
Yeah, I had somebody on one before say, who would you rather have, Michael Jordan or Michael Jordan's coach? Right?
Excellent.
It's the same. It's that same concept, right? It's, everybody says Michael Jordan, or not everybody, but there's a debate that Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time in basketball. But who's to say where he would be without his coach, right? His trainer. Who's to say where he would be without his parents and how they brought him up, right? There's a lot of different inputs that go into the output of being the greatest of all time. I think that a lot of people think it's this singular path, and they miss out on the fact that it's more like chemistry, right? Little bit of hydrogen, little bit of oxygen, little bit of carbon dioxide, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's all these different things that go together to make the compound that is high performance. It's not one singular path. It is input, 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 input. You have to build the molecule of success.
I totally agree with you, and the most important thing, I think, is about how you have a good environment around you. And in the environment is the coach that is essential. But let me also explain you the environment and how competitive it becomes. I have this story coming from the soccer championship in Europe, in Switzerland, as I come from Switzerland. In 1996, they were qualified to go to the Euro Championship, and they only had 4 or 5 people in the team that were going with the players. So a trainer, goalkeeper, trainer, and also a person for the physical health, and another one. But now, for the last Euro Championship there were 20 people that were coming with the team. So it's plus 4 times what was before. They have now a nutritionist, they have now a social media person that is helping them, they have a cooker, they have everything around them so that they can concentrate, focus on the competition only. And that is the key in today's life. So my recommendation is to be helped to have a good person in your team, because if you are not doing the job, people that are at the top will be higher and higher because they will have some money to hire the best coach to keep the momentum and have the best performance, as well as for money, for relationship, for business, for everything in life.
That's something that we've talked about here, especially when it comes to the athletic side. It's so easy to see it. It's not easy to see it on the business side or on the career side. It's easy to see it on the athletic side, is that the top performers in athletics have a team around. Like you said, nutritionist, trainer, chef, whatever, right?
Mental trainer. You have everything.
Mental, yes. Everything. They've got this entire team around. It's hard to see that in the business side. But one of the places that, or somebody that I know is very open about it, is somebody that did come from the sports side, and that's Shaquille O'Neal, right? He talks about how does he own all of these businesses that he owns, and he said it. I'm not afraid to delegate to the right people. I find the right people around me and delegate.
Yes.
It's what can only you do. There are things that you don't need to waste your time on. Efficiency. Efficiency is so important when it comes to high achieving. You cannot spend all of your time trying to learn about nutrition and trying to learn how to cook so that your body is fueled the right way, but also spend 8 hours a day training for whatever it is that you're doing. Let's say the Olympics are coming up, right? Let's say that you're training for the Olympics in whatever sport it might be. You can't train for 8 hours a day and learn how to cook and learn all about nutrition and get a PhD in psychology or a hard knocks degree in psychology, whichever way you want to do it.
You
right?
cannot. You can simply
There's
not.
no
Like,
way that one person can do it.
And it's good that you are saying it, because in Switzerland we have not the same mindset and habit about sport, especially college sport. And that's why people are mainly practicing their job and being an athlete. And I see some of these people in my practice the job as osteopath also. They come and I speak with them, and the difficulty is to be a top athlete and you do everything on your own because you have no money to hire people to do the job at your place. So you need to do it, and you need also to earn a little bit money to continue to do your passion, to be an athlete, a sport, but without being paid. So that is the difficulty we have with some very good athletes here in our country. That is not the same in US. You have a culture of sport. You are pushing it, and people have more ability to find resources, sponsors to help them at the beginning of their career.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the good things in what's changed in sports, and not just sports, but business as well. Like, you can have a business that has multiple legs without having to really, stretch the dollar too thin, right? You can have all these different avenues. There's merchandising. Like, almost every restaurant now has some sort of merchandise, right? They have T-shirts,
Right.
They have hats, they have things that you can take home with their logo on it, and they don't have to spend a bunch of money with that to have an online store, because there's drop shipping and things like that, print on demand and drop shipping, and even print on demand products with cups and things like that as well. And so that makes it, not just your main business, your restaurant per se. That's the example I use. But now you have this other leg. But then you can also have a third leg of social media sponsorships, right? Where you're saying, hey, we use this in our kitchen. We use whatever product. Here's how we do this. Or you just blow up from some viral recipe or whatever it might be, and then you start getting just money from views or whatever, right? So there's lots of different avenues that people can go down, especially in the U.S. now, that helps them when they're first starting out. Obviously not first starting out, because you have to, apply all of these things. But in the early stages, you don't have to just be in one lane and have all of your revenue come from one lane. It can be spread out into different avenues, like you're saying. And I think that's one of the things that certain times we take for granted. Like you're saying, you guys can't necessarily do that. And so I do think that a lot of people take that for granted.
Yeah, and I would address something as a maximum performance coach also for athletes. It's also and business owners or entrepreneurs, is that when you are also on social media, it's not only time that you are spending on it, but also energy you give of yourself. And it's difficult to separate private and professional. And also for athletes, I think it is not very wise to spend a lot of time to promote yourself. But it's difficult because you have to find the line. If you are not on social media, you have not sponsors, so you have less money. So yes, it's quite difficult. But I think for top athletes, at the end, it would be wiser just to focus totally on sport and not on other things, because you are spending energy on things that are not useful directly for your career.
There's certainly a fine line there. And the other issue that comes from if you're just using it for personal use, right? If you're using social media for personal use in the athletics game, there's that comparison factor where sometimes you're going to see somebody and you're going to start comparing yourself to them and try to do what they're doing so that you can, whatever, right? And that's dangerous as well. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a fine line, and I talk about it all the time, is like, you have to use social media correctly. You have to understand what social media is good for and what social media is bad. It's good for expanding your reach. It's good for this right here. Me being in South Carolina, you being in Switzerland, we're able to connect and have a conversation and share our thoughts via connecting through social media, right? So that's the good thing. That's the power of social media, is being able to connect with people that you never would have been able to connect, being able to learn from people that you never would have been able to learn from. However, there is a side to it that can be detrimental.
Share with you also a tip that you can use when you are going on social media, because a lot of people are lost in space when they go on social media.
Scrolling.
It's just to ask 2 questions, what I am doing or searching, and for how much time. So you have a why, and then you have a time. And for the time, you can have a clock. So you say for 1 hour or 30 minutes, then it rings, and you are not in this spiral where you just go endlessly to a video, to another, to another, to another. That is my tip. If you want to also increase your productivity and efficiency and tend to excellence.
Absolutely. Schedule out time to allow you to do it. That way you understand where it fits into your day, whether it's at the end of your day or the beginning of the day or whatever it might be. Schedule it out. That way you're not completely cutting it out. You don't feel like, oh my God, I have to give up social media. No, you don't necessarily have to give it up, but just schedule it out so you don't, because if we don't schedule it out, like you said, set an alarm. If you don't, then it can turn 30 minutes can turn into an hour can turn into 2 hours, whatever it might be.
You are in a trap. You are trapped.
And you're in a trap. That's exactly right. And that's where time blocking or knowing yourself is super important, right? You have to understand who you are and how you operate, because some people don't get stuck in that. Some people don't like social media. Some people don't use social media. I'm one that doesn't I don't use it a ton other than for branding, right? And for promoting the podcast and promoting the brand and teaching and helping others. That's how I use it. I don't really use it that much for entertainment purposes other than how-tos on YouTube kind of deal. So it's one of those things you have to really understand yourself. And be able to incorporate it into your personal.
As you said, it's important to know yourself, and it's one of the topics of my last book with Brian Tracy in Succeeding in Business in Any Market, in which I explain that the foundations are to know yourself, to have awareness of who you are, your values, your vision, mission, and how to apply it directly in your life. So if you want concrete application, as I said at the beginning, on how to become successful, this book is very good to help you to succeed, whatever is your situation, personal or professional.
That application, again, full circle back to that same thing. It's the application, right? And
that is the secret. Is you asked me, yes, but why people are not acting? But the problem is you have a lot of knowledge, and what I do is, for example, when I read a book, is to say, okay, now from what I learned or what I read, what can I apply as soon as possible? So I try in the coming week to find an occasion to apply this knowledge, and it can be a concrete part or just to explain explain again the book to a person. For example, a member of your family, I learned this, and you explain, and people are really happy to learn new things. and I have my children or I have my parents with which I can have this kind of conversation, or your friends. Oh, did you know that in sport you have this and this, and you can apply this in your life? And that is a way to learn and also to integrate the knowledge you have. Because if you just read, as it said, 95% is away in 1 day or 2 days. So you learn nothing in just reading.
It's implementation. Absolutely. Application, implementation. It ends up getting to be that analysis paralysis, right? We took in all this information, and it's like, okay, well, where do I start? I don't know where to start. What do I do? And it's that analysis paralysis. I like what you're saying of, hey, just do a little bit. Just say, go and teach somebody else what you learned, or talk about what you learned. Go and find some way to start processing the information.
Exactly.
You just got to get it out, right? Because then you can retain it. Once you start talking about it, once you start, doing all of these things a little bit. So, funny story, whenever I was in school, I didn't take a lot of notes because I knew that I had a really good memory, and I didn't feel like I had to take very many notes because I had a great memory. And so, but I found that when I did take notes, I never had to look back at it. I never had to review them because I was hearing it and writing it. Whenever I did that, I didn't ever have to go back and look. I knew it. I had whatever it was, I had the comprehension, I had it down.
Yeah.
If I just listened to it, I would fall into that trap of, oh, hey, well, I didn't look at my notes last time, so why do I need to take notes this time?
Yeah.
But if I'm only listening to it, I couldn't retain as much information. But when I listened and wrote it, I had 100% retention or however much.
Wow.
Right? I had super high retention because it was to application. It was that. So I love what you're saying of read it and then find a way to implement it quickly or talk about it or something, because then you're going to retain the information because you're applying it somehow, some way, even if it's talking to a child. And I like that because I think that one of my biggest things is simplicity, right? And I love the Einstein quote of true genius is being able to simplify a complicated issue, right? Too many people want to make something super complicated so it makes them look smart. But true genius is being able to simplify a complicated issue. So if you're able to take something from a book on performance and explain it to a 5-year-old, 10-year-old, or whatever, that takes a higher level of understanding than just reading the book or just explaining it to somebody else that read the book or a peer in your peer group that has the same comprehension level. Making yourself explain it to a child, you have to then understand it on a whole nother level. So I love that you said that.
Thank you.
It's one of those things that you really do have to understand. And I coach my son's baseball team, so it's frustrating to explain things to a kid sometimes, but it takes a whole nother level of understanding to be able to bring it down onto that level.
I think as you speak also, as you have a child, I also have 3 children, 2 boys, and one of the goals also to be a coach and athlete is not only to be good and strong, but to leverage the life to help them to be really strong and to be, very strong also mentally. And last year I had my son that was beating my 19-year-old daughter, but he was only 13. And I was saying, but you cannot be beaten by this young child. And now this year, he is beating me at 14. And I was wow, but how amazing he is. Okay, I'm not a professional sprinter, but I know how to run. I don't train it very often. He's a soccer player, so he runs a lot. But I was wow, how amazing it is to see his development. And the first time he was after me, and then he was just 1 or 2 centimeters before me. And now he's half a meter before, so I have no no chance. But I'm still there. I'm still there at his side, and I will train and push him. And that is the goal as a father, as a trainer, as a coach. You have a leadership to train and to implement for the persons that are at your side. It's to take responsibility of it, to be able to help them to leverage and be stronger, either physically, mentally, emotionally, financially too.
I think that that's an aspect of leadership that gets missed, right? Whether it's in athletics, whether it's in business, that aspect of leadership, I think, does get missed is the ability to help someone leverage the skills that they do. Whether it's outperforming you or not outperforming you, teaching them or helping them maximize what they do have, the capabilities that they have, and getting the most out of what they have. I think that's what leadership really is.
Yeah.
I think that should be the definition of leadership. However, I don't think that that's what most people define leadership as.
Yeah.
I think that leadership is missed and misplaced a lot of the time. Instead of exactly what you just said, being there as that mental cheerleader almost, right? It's not exactly that, but being able to help them maximize the skills that they currently have, push them, because we all get complacent. We do need somebody to push us sometimes. But being that mental coach,
you have to be surrounded by competitors, because if you are alone on the top of the mountain, you are the best. But the people that are very bad around you, you are nothing. You are very good the day you are training with beasts. And the day you are at the top of the mountain, there you can say, okay, now I am very good. Because it's easy to say, okay, I'm good. But it's when you train and when you have adversaries, or you have opponents or friends that are competing with you, that you are growing. It's always a true competition that you are forced to forge you, to go in the roots, to go deeper, and to be able to go through the pain and the suffer, to build yourself as a strong human.
That competition aspect is something that I've talked about it just in my personal life with people, that I don't understand why people do certain things that they do these days in the U.S. It's not going to be something that applies necessarily to Switzerland. But in today's world in the U.S., people are so adamant to try to get their kid, especially, to stand out, that they will reclassify a child from a sophomore in high school to a freshman in high school so that they're a little bit older and they'll stand out more in that class because they'll be playing against a little bit younger kids. They're a little more developed, and they showcase it. They're so much better, so much better, so much better. But every athlete that I know that was the top of the heap, they were probably the youngest in their class, and they played against higher competition, not lower competition. I know that that's true for me. Whenever I was playing competitive golf, if I went out and played with my buddies that weren't very good, I wasn't going to play very good. If I went and played with the highest competition that was around, I was going to play better, because it's pushing yourself to get better. That growth aspect. Same thing in your career. A lot of times people are like, "Oh my God, I'm getting pushed. You know, I'm the best of the best at this company. I'm the best at this company. I'm the best at this company. Why am I getting passed over for this job or that job or this job or that job?" Because you're complacent. You're staying at the level that you're at. You're not growing because you're telling yourself, "I'm the best." So you're just okay with the level that you're at. You're not elevating your performance. You're not doing anything to show that you deserve to be at that next level because, okay, great, you're the best at this particular job, but you're not ready for the next level because you are not growing.
Yes, and let me explain you also this little story. It's because I decided to become a coach, as I was first of all an osteopath, 20 years of career, very easy. I had the two best currency in the world. So the first is money, and I had time, so I could play. I was in a very comfortable situation, and to say, oh, but I want to give things, but I need to have less time and less money because I invested in me. I invested in some field of knowledge to be able to be a good coach. And when I was there, now my best return is to see the impact I create on my coaches. And that is a fulfillment you don't have if you stay in the comfort zone. And once I said to my coach, yeah, no, you know, now it's Saturday, 10 a.m., you did your sport session and you won the weekend. So for the rest of the weekend, you can do nothing, but at least you gained your weekend because you start with a strong beginning. You did your job and you did sport. And once I was not there, this coachee, Louis, was saying to the mother, oh, it's difficult to go today to the sport, but I know what Uli would have said. And he said, okay, I will do it because then I know that I will win my day. So it's not only the impact you create when you are with people, but it's the impact you create when you are not with them that is super important. And at the end, okay, I'm a coach, but I know that this guy doesn't need me anymore because you can stay in a relationship where the person is not growing and is still always wanting you at your side because he is not able to kick his own ass to do the job. And once you did the right and fantastic job, this person is able to fly by himself or herself.
Absolutely. That's something that coaches, mediocre coaches and subpar coaches do, is they don't teach the student how to perform on their own. They don't teach them how to problem solve for themselves. They want them to rely on the coach, right? Because they have whatever, an inferiority complex or whatever it might be, where they want the student to need. However, through truly great coaches that are there for the performance aspect, they teach you how to diagnose your own issues and solve your own issues, so that when something happens in sports and athletics or in your career and the coach isn't there, you know how to perform. You know how to solve the problem, diagnose the problem, solve the problem, and then be at your peak when there's nobody there.
And for people, it's the same. It's when you take accountability that you are growing and you are going to the next stage. And in judo, it was the same. When I was competing, people were always saying, oh, but he was lucky to win against me, or oh, it was a referee that was helping him, etc. And I was in the same mindset. And one day I said, no, he played well. He was better than me, point. And I was, shit, I didn't want to say it, but no, I missed the point. But that day was also the day that I could go to training and say, okay, now I need to train tougher if I want to become better. And that's it. If you are always taking away your responsibility, and it can be as well as an athlete, as a professional, or in your relationship, the day you say, okay, I missed the point and I need to come back to work, or I need to train myself better, that day you will grow and you have more chance to be at the top on the next event.
Yeah, it's okay to be upset after a loss or after you didn't perform as well as you wanted to. It's okay to be upset. And yes, of course, sometimes we're going to have those outbursts of, oh, he was lucky, or oh, the referee screwed me over, or whatever. We're going to have that little bit of an outburst because of our heightened emotion. I don't see that necessarily as a bad thing in the moment, because it's passion coming out, right? It means you care. And if you don't care, you're never going to be at your peak performance. So you have to care. You have to have that passion. And that's what that is. But it's the ability to, the next day, get back to work, see what was missed, see the issues, see where you need to grow. And that is where true high achievers and true success is built, is not in the initial reaction or not reaction. Because, you know, in my opinion, if somebody just says, oh my God, you're better than me, and shakes your hand and says, I'll take the loss on the chin because you're better than me, do they care? Maybe, maybe not, right? That's not the reaction that somebody like that truly cares. We all, you know, in the society that we're in today with the internet and things, like they're quick to take pictures of people crying on the sideline because they just lost like a championship of some sort. They're quick to take pictures of that or whatever and make it into a meme, but like that's passion. That's somebody caring about the result.
Yes, exactly. It's ego, and sometimes the ego is hurt. But you also need to be humble. And I agree with you totally. If you say, oh, but I just lost and you are better than me, yes, it's not sufficient. You need to have this fire in you in saying, okay, shit, I lost. I cannot accept it anymore. And that day you can grow. But if you say, okay, oh, it was better, no, you don't care and you don't want to be better.
Well, and I think it goes back to mindset too, is like if you admit that person is better than you, the next time you face them, you've already lost the mental battle because you're telling yourself that they're better than you. Yeah. You're down. At that point, you've already lost.
I agree. Or you can say he's better than me today.
Today. I like that's better. Yeah. Saying you're better than me today is definitely one that would be a better mantra to tell yourself than just, oh, he's better than me. It's one of those things that, in my opinion, you've got to be like, you know, I messed up. You're not better than me. I beat myself. Right? That's the way that I would prefer to look at it. I know that's not for everybody, and that's not everybody's way of doing it, but like for me, I would rather say or see somebody say, I made a mistake and let you win. It was on me. The loss is on me. Because one, that's taking accountability, right? And accountability is massive. That's taking accountability, but it's also saying, I know I'm superior. I just didn't perform at my appropriate level today. And that happens. It's okay to not perform at the peak level. You're not always going to be perfect. But you can mentally still have that edge by the way you talk.
Yeah, that's why it's so important to have a good mental talk. And perhaps first is to examine it. How do you speak to yourself? And finally, people are just self-sabotaging with having negative thoughts or just blaming them or saying, oh no, I should not have done it. Instead of saying, okay, I did bad and next time it will be better. And I think people are mostly in their head limited by their own beliefs and they cannot grow, expand. And the first point, on my point of view, is to say that you can do something better in just having awareness of your thoughts and write them. And, oh, why do I say this to me? And for example, for my child, he was saying, oh, but I am so bad. I said, no, I don't let you, I want you to say it loud, because if you say it loud, you already thought it in your mind. And if you thought it, sometimes you are saying it to you without me hearing it. So I don't want you to say it anymore. And I corrected it. And I think it's the case if you are a coach or also a parent, is to say, no, I don't let you say this, because it's so negative that you are taking you down. And if you allow this kind of thoughts, then you cannot be able to be a champion.
So as you're saying that, I was thinking, you know, the reason I ask what is the one thing that helps take performance to the next level, I was thinking, I'm glad I asked that because we always get different answers.
Right.
I feel like if I asked what's the biggest hurdle to peak performance, I think we'd always get the same answer. And it's what you just said. Self-sabotage, self-limiting beliefs, negative comments, negative self-talk, right? I think we'd always get what's the biggest hurdle, you, and how you talk to yourself, right? I think we would always get the self. The way that I ask it now, we always get a different perspective, a different answer. But if we asked it as what's the biggest hurdle, it would be the mind. It'd be the mindset. It would be the self-talk. It would be the self-belief. It would be that aspect of the internal conversations that you have. And that's why I talk about perspective, because I think it blends everything together of, one, it's how you see yourself, because there's multiple perspectives, right? There's how you see yourself. There's how other people see you. There's how you see people, how they see you, how you see yourself, how they see themselves. There's 4 perspectives in every interaction. Well, the main 2 to focus on are how you see yourself and how others see you. Those are the one, because a lot of the times those are nowhere close to each other. A lot of people that are high achievers, or people that have been seen as high achievers, but maybe they're not at their peak performance. They're at that like plateau phase, right? A lot of people may see them as, oh my gosh, that person's made it. They're great. They've done such a good job. However, they're sitting there talking to themselves as, oh my gosh, you're a failure. You're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. And their perspective is complete 180 to how other people see them. And it's the same way with business, with athletics. You have to align how you see yourself with how other people see you, and not necessarily let people influence you, but have to let that in sometimes, that perspective of other people in sometimes, to understand, okay, hey, here's my gauge of my performance. Because in sports, we have statistics. We have a win-loss record. We have things that are hard targets of, okay, I know I'm succeeding or I know I'm not succeeding, because there's a score at the end of the day. But in career, in business, and in life, there's not a scoreboard necessarily. You can create a scoreboard, you can gamify something, and you can create a scoreboard, but a lot of the times we lose that sight of, are we succeeding or not succeeding? So you have to sometimes let in that outside perspective and understand that outside perspective to understand where the score is at.
Coming to perspective, that's why I'm doing a revision every week. It's my winning revision, in which I take accountability for my goals of the week. So I set every week some goals, and I see if I achieved them, why not, what happened this week, and how I can improve my performance, and also the percentage of what I succeeded in. And also it's a way to be proud of what you accomplish when you say, okay, I was doing this, or I was courageous, or I was really happy to do this activity. Then some emotions are flowing to you, and when you have good emotions, it's also a positive spiral that is going up for the coming days. So that is my recommendation, to do every week a revision in which you are writing what is your goal for the next week, what was your goal, and why you were going through or not.
And there needs to be a little bit of a caveat there too, because, again, when we're talking about the mental side of things, goals are just that. They're goals, right? It's not
It's a process.
It doesn't need to be a success or failure type of thing. And it's not something you need to say that beats yourself up, right? Because that's what a lot of people do, especially in the U.S., right? We all set, let's just take New Year's resolutions for an example. That's a goal everybody has, right? And the first time that they miss that resolution, they quit. because they see themselves as a failure. They don't want to continue to feel that, so they just give up on that goal, let that goal go, and we don't want to do that. If we want to make sure that if we miss a goal for the week, we learn from it. And I like the word you use, revision. So we revise that goal to be something different that we can then turn around into a win or into a success. So it's celebrating the successes and being accountable for the misses.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say failures, I would say misses.
Yeah. It's better. It's better rephrased. And that's why people are so deceptive after New Year's resolutions, because they have goals, but they are not revising them. They say, "Oh, I want this for 1 year," but then if they are not doing what is required, they say, "Okay, I don't do," and they are not taking accountability, and they are not revising and saying, "Oh, I was not on the right way, so I should change a little bit to come back to what I wanted to achieve at the beginning of the year." And that is the key point. It's not to take goals or to write goals. Is to revise them, is to stick to them and to be able to see if we are doing it or not. And perhaps the goal is changing. So we change the orientation and we follow the process, saying, "Oh, but now strategically, I don't need to do this. So I do another thing instead." And that's okay. But if you are not revising, you let drop and you finish to have also a bad mindset for the next year and saying, "Okay, I know that I will not take the resolution. I am not this person that is able to do it." But if you accomplish small goals, then you have confidence in you and saying, "Okay, I could do this little step. Now I can do for a bigger one."
I love this concept of revision because it kind of, in a nutshell, can be seen the same way that I talk about the organic journey, where you have a goal in mind, but you're on a path that's organically evolving, right? So you're starting towards your goal, but as you come to a fork, you make the decision that's right for you at that time, right? And that's a little revision, as you say, right? It's a little revision in your path, right? And then we come to another fork, and it's a little revision. Then when you look back at it, once you have achieved your goal, you look back at it and it looks like a tree, right? There's all these little forks that you could have gone on that you made that you didn't take. There was only one path you did take, but there's 100 that you didn't take. But these little revisions, I love this concept because it's the same thing it's the same kind of thing as that organic journey, because I don't like putting time frames on goals, right? I say that, that is a form of a self-limiting belief. Is in 1 year, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Those are my goals for 1 year. Well, you could potentially accomplish those in 1 month if you really, it maybe, right? Or it could take you 2 years. But a lot of times somebody will get there and they give up because it didn't happen at one year, or they drag their feet and make it happen at 1 year when it could have happened at 1 month, right? So I think that time limits on goals are a form of self-limiting belief. And they're a trap to people, whether it's making them give up because they didn't accomplish it in that time frame, or making them slow down because they want to accomplish it in that time frame. So I think that the revision aspect, thinking of it in terms of revisions, can help that, because it's, hey, I want to run a marathon, right? At some point in my life. Not me personally. I don't know why that came up, but that was my thought. And somebody starts running, and their first day, they're able to run 18 miles. They're like, "Well, I set a goal to run a marathon a year from now." Right? Well, you only got 5 miles more that you need to go, and you're there. Why are we saying it's going to take us a year, right? But they can revise it after the result.
Yeah.
You can revise it a little bit here, revise it a little bit there, revise it. I love this aspect of revision.
Yes, and I have 2 more things to add with it. The first and most important question you can ask during this revision is, what is the one thing that I could do that will leverage my life. So it can be professional, or it can be relationship, or finance, or business. What is the one thing? So you know that this thing is the one that will deblock some situation next year or next week, and you will be able to have more opportunities or more time and invest in other things. That is the best question to ask you. And the second that is a game changing when you have goals is to also act with determination and with having a massive action, because with massive actions you will have massive results. And I saw a person doing like this. You can say, okay, I give 20% or 30% on a long time, but if you say, now I do this shitty job, I give it all today or 1 week, and then you say, wow, amazing, I achieved my 1 year goal in 1 week or in 1 month instead of 1 year. Because if you say it's in 1 year, then you have the tendency to say, oh, I have time to achieve it. But if you say, now I have just 3 hours on which I can work on it, and it should be done by the end of this day, you put you in a situation you cannot lose, you cannot be defeated. Okay, perhaps it's the case, but at least you will have having done a massive action towards your goal.
Maximum effort, maximum intent.
Yes.
There's never an in-between. There should never be an in-between, right? When you were talking about that and saying it in that way of just giving 20% here, 20% there, right? Like just this little effort. I see that the imagery that came to my head is pushing a car that's in neutral, right? A car that's in neutral. If you just try to give it 20% of your strength, you're never going to move it. Yet if you give maximum effort up front, once it starts rolling, it's easy. You can push it with a finger because it's already rolling.
Yeah,
but you have to give it maximum effort, maximum intent to begin with in order to get any kind of result. If you just give it 20%, you're never going to move it to begin with, so you get no result.
Yeah, but the problem here is that it is an habit. So if you are habituated since you are a child to not to give too much, to not give it all, to not to risk too much, then it will be difficult to use and to implement it in your life as an adult. And I was doing it with my children. Once again, we were playing at a game, and he had just to play safe to win the game. But instead of this, he was there and he was trying to do a better thing. And because of this, he was taking a risk. Finally, we lost. And I was, it's not a problem. I prefer this kind of action because in that case, we lost, but at least you tried. You took the risk to be able to beat the person with a higher points.
It's teaching for later, right? Like it's like you said, making sure that those habits are not formed of your child saying I'm bad, right? You immediately jumped in and said no, we're not going to form that habit of negative talk, or hey, we're not going to play it safe here. We're going to take the risk and we're going to try to win. We're not going to just try to cruise to the victory. We want to win, right? We're going to do what it takes to win, and setting that precedent now. And that habit now of doing what it takes to win, because we do fall into that trap a lot of the times. A lot of people fall into that trap of, okay, I've done all of this and it's got me to where I want to be, and now I'm just going to coast and I'm just going to relax. I'm just going to play it safe. And that can't be the mentality. It has to get that continued push, that continued effort is why people are at a peak level versus a plateau level, right? A lot of people climb the mountain and hit a plateau and sit on that plateau and enjoy the view. But the view's a lot better from the top. The view from the peak is different. It's rarefied air. It's, thinner oxygen, right? It's a different experience from the top than it is at that plateau. And most people will get comfortable at that plateau. Yes, they put in the effort to get to that. But here's the thing about effort. There's effort on the way down and on the way up.
But it's because it's difficult when you are in the plateau. At the beginning, you are making progress very easily. But once you have done a little bit effort and training, then it's a long term game in which you are seeing no or quite no results, and you still have to train hard, to suffer, to be mentally tough. But it's only at the end, if you continue like this, that you will win eventually to be a champion. And it's there that you see and feel the champion. It's because he is able to do and process the thing, even if he is seeing no results, even if he's saying, oh, but it's not the good weather, even if it's not the good day, he feels tired, he's training the same.
Well, that's where that mindset comes in, that perseverance comes in. That's where, the determination comes in. It's the understanding that in order to climb, there's going to be, sometimes you have to climb down to climb up, right? There's that compression to then go up. There's a lot of different metaphors and analogies of that same process. You have to understand that and apply it, like we talk about application. You have to understand it and apply it to your daily progress. Is, hey, I know I'm not seeing a result. I'm only seeing 1% better instead of 10%. When I did this before, I saw 10% improvement. I'm only seeing 1% improvement. But you're at a higher level now, so that 1% is head and shoulders above the competition, because at an elite level, the competition is separated by so little. That 1% makes it so much bigger.
Yeah.
Because it's separated by very, very little at that elite. It's one of those things that you just have to get internally, be okay, right? Internally, just have to understand that 10% versus 1%, yes, number wise, it seems skewed, but it's not, because you're at a different spot. And think about climbing a mountain, right? At the bottom of the mountain, you could probably climb the first 1,000 feet without breathing heavy. But the last 100 feet, you're going to be struggling because it's straight up. There's less oxygen. It's harder. You're tired from the climb. That last 100 feet is going to be way more difficult than the first 1,000.
Yeah, but it's when it's difficult that you are growing. It's for everybody is the same, and the mountain is not the same for everybody. But once you accept pain, once you accept challenge, once you accept that you will have difficult times in your life, training or with relationship or finance, and you say, okay, that is good. That is good for me because it's making me better. It's making me stronger. That day you begin to grow and to be a better human.
Well, how many people didn't make the last 100 feet? Lots of people can make the first 1,000. There's a lot of people that'll do the first 1,000.
Yeah.
There's not very many people that'll do the last 100. That's where it comes into play, is understanding that, yes, that last 100 is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why people don't do it.
But it's what makes the champion.
Yeah. It's even if it's 1% better, even if it's 0.5% better, if it's 0.5% over second place, you're still in first place.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter about the percentage gain. It is just that you are gaining, that you are getting better, and you're going through the process. Because the second that you let the process lapse, then your entire performance is going to, because you didn't put in the same effort to begin with. So again, let's go back to percentages, right? If you slacked off and did 50% of the prep work,
Yeah.
how much are you going to lose in your performance?
Yeah. And that is super important what we say. And that's why also when you are a coach, finally, you are also training yourself. My coach helped me to go out of the comfort zone. I could have stayed at home, and finally I go outside. I train. I show the example. I thought I was able to do 60 to 80 squats. I didn't know because I didn't try to have a max rep. But finally, because I had a child in my group that was doing more than 100, I said, okay, I will go with you. And finally, I was at his side to beat my record. And I go until 160 that I even was able to imagine that I was able to do it. But because I was challenged, then I said, okay, I will do it. I will. And I know it's difficult, but I was going through. And that is my last message for you, Josh, because I will have right now to go to train this group of children. I really look forward to help them to grow, to become stronger physically, but also mentally, and also to help them to gain confidence, because it's a big problem actually with children. But it's also through sport that you can gain confidence. If you are good with your body when you train, then your confidence is also getting better.
Absolutely. That challenge, that competition aspect, again, is what makes you realize where you can be. And I think that's a perfect place to leave it out. So one more time, why don't you just let everybody know who you are, where they can find you, all that good stuff.
So, as I said, I'm a maximum performance coach. You will have the website that will be indicated here. And I also recommend to you to do the value test, in which you can learn what are your values, what are you standing for, because when you hierarchize your values, you are knowing also why you are acting. And in that case, you are having a right aligned life through foundation, knowing you, vision, mission, and values. And all the links will be put here. And I thank you again very much, Josh, for this interview and your time with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And listeners, we'll be back next week. You know we'll have another banger. So let's go.